Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's coverage of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here on iRacing. Today we're at Watkins Glen, and today joining me in the commentary booth is Sam Fitzpatrick. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here. Should be a good, fun race. Awesome circuit. This one of the best, I think, in the world. And well, it's a classic combination. The 6 hours of the Glen. Of course, use very similar cars to this. So it should be good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Prior to the sign up for this event, we noticed that 48 car field, but sadly it was split into 24 per split. So not as big of a field as we would have hoped for, but certainly looking forward to some quality racing today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that should maybe reduce the issues we have out there, particularly on the race start. We're not going to see the GTEs, for example, crashing into one another and causing a big pile-up behind. So it does mean that we should have 24 cars pretty much racing throughout. I think we're still going to have a really good battle, particularly in the GT cars. Unfortunately, only one DP. It is a car that shows despite the fact that it is a fantastic car. It really is the Corvette C7 DP, but a lot of people seem to disagree. We've got Blake Neck in that car today, but the GTEs in particular very well filled, and also the GT3s are quite populous as well, so should be good. And looking at the qualifying times, it looks quite competitive at the front of the field currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Blake Neck currently putting in a time of 1 minute 38.9. So he will obviously have the pole position for the DPs, but in GTEs, we got Benjamin Edmund currently sitting in provisional pole on a 1 minute 42.6. But yeah, he decides to dive in the pit lane. He must have had a 1x lap. Anton Perpovsky in 4th position at the moment, crossing the line now. Does he improve? He does, but not enough to sit or jump any higher. Sits in 3rd currently. In 10th at the moment, Stephen Gressent just falls to 11th overall at the moment, but he's currently putting in a lap at the moment. Will he improve his time of a 1 minute 44.8?
Yes.
Yeah, he does. He moves up to 1 minute 44.2, so solid improvement for him, and he moves up into 7th in the GT field.
Yeah, nice effort there to improve in his time. Of course, these drivers only get 2 qualifying laps, and so that'll be an out lap, and then you got to do 2 fast laps. It's not a case of you can do 2 kind of runs. It's just 2 laps on the same set of tyres, so it's difficult to keep your tyres, you know, in their optimal range for that second lap. But clearly, a few of these drivers still being able to improve out there. Here comes Michael Perchheim. Currently hasn't set a time, I believe. His first lap was... Oh, this is his first lap. Okay, so he's leaving it very late, and he's only going to get 1 lap in. This is going to be it for it, because as with all the iRacing official series, once that clock ticks down, that's it. You don't get to finish the lap that you've started. You go straight back to the pit. Here comes Michael. Can he go and improve on his time as he approaches the line? Really, any validated time will move him up the field. And unfortunately, it wasn't validated. So that's going to be it for him. He's going to be starting at the back of the GTE field.
Jacques Swanpole at the moment putting in a lap on the GT3 field. Currently sitting, I think that's 7th or 6th in the GT3 field on a 1 minute 50.1. But I don't think he will have enough time to cross the line for a second lap at the moment, given that he's heading into the boot now, or sorry, into the heel in the second part of the lap. But we've only got about 5 seconds left to go before the checkered flag will be out for qualifying.
Yeah, he's not going to get near enough, unfortunately. He would have quite been thankful for the NASCAR layout. They would have maybe probably just about made it, but instead he'll be starting quite far down the order. So, grid here at Watkins Glen, week 2 of the season. That's Blake Neck, as expected, on the pole position, the only DP out there. In first position for the GTEs will be Benjamin Erdmann. Alongside him will be Pablo Vicente. Then it's Marco Keller Anton Perobrovsky, Copeters Laurent, Matthias Tonti, Stephen Gressant, Matthew Kidd, Paul Campbell, Cameron Stuber, Glenn Hinge, Niles Jordan, Pablo Araga, Aaron Durcio, Paul Barber, Michael Perchheim, and then the rest of the. In fact, yeah, that's all the GTEs. And then in the GT threes, we've got Griffin Gardner on pole position, Max Stead alongside him. Then it's Shane Hunter, Alder Stepnowski, George Lewis, Jacques Swainpole, and Michael Gray rounding out the field. Gray failed to set a qualifying time. And of course, we did get a very long formation lap here. Very long. It's not quite as bad as Road America, but for some reason, these circuits, these American circuits, seem to just be desperate to do an unnecessarily long formation lap. But there you go. It leaves us a bit more time to do some analysis of this 45-minute race, which is coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a look at the SOF, if I can find it. Here we go. So the DP, sadly, it's just Blake Neck's relative iRating of about 5,600. So DP field is pretty open if you wanted to get into the DP field, but GTE sadly a little bit lower than last week, but yeah, Watkins Glen still certainly putting up the participation as expected, and then GT3 is 2.3k SOF, so certainly a decent quality field throughout the field, and yeah, it should be a good race today. But, just looking at the weather as well, if I can bring that one up. It's a clear skies with a 26-degree ambient, 41-degree track, so it's going to be fairly tough for the drivers, I feel, with this hot track temperature, but we'll see how they fare. And it's fairly blustery as well, with a southwesterly of a 25km/h wind, so that's going to be pretty challenging as well. I'm not sure which way the direction is, especially going into the carousel. I think this is a classic boot layout as well. I was about to find out. No, it's a boot layout, so just heading up into that bus stop there, it'll be interesting to see whether the other drivers will have to play it safe with losing the back end or anything like that. But yeah, that is the weather for today.
Yeah, well, that track temperature in particular, 41 degrees, and it could get warmer as well. It's currently 2 in the afternoon in Sim on the 23rd of March, so it's quite nice how iRacing kind of keep it up to date with each of the real-life weeks. And so it could get a little bit warmer in this race, so it could cool off a little bit. Usually we see about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the absolute warmest times in Sim. As, yeah, we just got about a third of the lap to go. Blake Neck for Geodetic Racing. Alpine Stars Geodetic Racing, in fact, did pretty decently well in the DGFX series, along with many others. And of course, anyone racing in this series, I believe, is there, Scott, is there a form you can fill out, Scott, just to put on your team name and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Head over to the iRacing forums in the IMSA specific part of the forum, and there will be a Google form that you can fill out with some custom fields that you can fill out for your team name, iRacing name, and your individual colours that you can have displayed on our overlay. So yeah, just make sure you head over to the iRacing forums and make sure to fill out that if you want to get your team info displayed.
Absolutely. So Blake Neck rounding the last couple of corners. GTUs really don't need to leave too much of a gap. You can see they're very close behind, but he'll have a clean run, will Blake, as they round the final corner. Pace car will pull in right at the last moment. And we're going to be racing here at Watkins Glen. 45-minute event this. Of course, Blake Neck getting a very good start. Benjamin Erdmann easily holding the lead in his BMW early on. Just pulling ahead is Vicente over Keller. And seems to be relatively calm just behind. Campbell's got a great start up of 3 positions so far. This is where we can sometimes see some issues with drivers going side by side. We are going to see some side by side. Is there going to be any issues with maybe drivers with cool tyres? Seem to be okay in that field. In the GT3s, not too much change. Stepnowski just pulling ahead of George Lewis and Jacques Swainpold currently. But we could see some battling going down into the bus stop there as Edmund just extends that lead out in the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Great start from everyone. Just having a look at through the middle of the field of the GTEs. It looks as though they've made it through pretty much single file, and everyone sorted themselves out. We've got Matthias Tonti, Glenn Hinge, and Matthew Kidd batting it out for the back end of the top 10. The gap at the moment between those 3 is about 7 tenths covering them throughout.
Yeah, it seems as though, not sure if it was the inside or the outside, just got a little bit of a sluggish start. It allowed Campbell and Hinge just to gain a couple of positions, and it cost Tonti and Kidd, and that's why they're in such a tight battle currently, because it's a surprisingly difficult track to overtake this. It's there's not really any positions where you got a long straight and then a hard braking corner. Even around this part of the circuit, it's very difficult to stay close to your rival. And maybe the bus stop is going to be an opportunity, but then even then it's very difficult to pull off the move because it's such a fast chicane. Barely a braking zone for these GTE cars, which can really clamber over the curbs. And so I don't expect overtaking to be particularly common out there. They're going to have to really work if they're going to move up the field. Yeah,
absolutely. You really need to be about 4 tenths behind on the exit of the turn 1 to be able to have a run. But then again, the car in front must not have a draft, so to be able to get alongside as well. Looking at Paul Campbell at the moment, trying to put pressure on Coppitas Laurent heading into the bus stop, but he's not close enough to get the run on the inside and has to fall back in line through the carousel at this time. So Campbell's sitting in 7th overall at the moment, 6th in class. He's currently one of the biggest movers in tyre field. He's currently best mover alongside Glenn Hinge. They both sit 7th and 9th respectively.
Oh, we've just had Doricho getting past Jordan, I believe. Not quite sure how that one was done, but you can see he's already pulled out a little bit of a gap. So nice move there from the BMW Joe. Not a great start actually for Jordan. He's already dropped a couple of positions in that field. By the way, off the start, we unfortunately Stephen Gressant couldn't take the race start. He had a connection issue, it seems, just before the green flag. Hopefully he'll be able to get back out on circuit. He has reconnected to the session. In fact, he is actually out there right now as Gressant, but a couple of laps down. So that's part of the reason why quite a few of the GTEs have gained positions. As we see, Doricho really closing in now on Orega. Down the inside he goes into turn 1. Not too much the Ferrari driver can do, it seems. Is Aran going to be able to get the car stopped? Yes, he is. But is he going to be a little bit vulnerable now up the hill and going into the bus stop? It wasn't an awesome launch from Orega, but arguably that's the perfect range to be, because he manages to get a real slingshot potentially into the chicane. You can kind of make the move on the inside or the outside here. It's about who's got the momentum, and they are going to pull alongside here. But backing out of it probably wisely, there was the Ferrari driver as Doricho retakes that position and yeah, makes it him.
So a little bit further up the battle for the 9th and 10th, 10th and 11th position. Matthew Kidd defending quite hard, and he goes a little bit off track, and that allows Cameron Stubber to move up into the 10th position, as Matthew's having some connection issues there. Hopefully he'll be able to get that sorted, as he is going around the outside again and defending that position. So good defensive move from Matt to hold on to the 10th, but I see that Aaron Doricho is really closing up to this battle as well with those two side by side.
yeah, I was surprised how much speed you could take around the outside, because on the inside you kind of got that kind of a small banking type section, and yeah, still managed to carry the speed all the way around the outside. I expect that to be possible maybe later on with the track really rubbering in. Often that can make it a little bit more slick, although on the outside, because you get the marbles as well, so it can get very difficult to race alongside someone late on. As Stuber still looking to go for the move, but taking a slightly unnecessarily tight line into turn one. It's costing him a little bit of a run, and if anything, it's going to be Doricho, who is really a man on a mission right now. He was faster than these two drivers by 1 second on that last lap. Clearly that BMW hooking up well in this race as he closes in. Will he go to the outside? There's just not enough straight, unfortunately, to really get alongside by the time they go into the chicane. But found the boot section. It's been looking very strong so far. I'm sure he's going to be pouncing on any mistake he makes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking back at the GT3 field, I got a battle for 4th, 5th and 6th in class. Matt Maxted. So trying to put pressure on Jacques Swanpole for the 4th position in class. Seen that this battle was hotting up pretty nicely. And a little bit earlier on, Shane Hunter was on the back of Matt as well, but sadly he's fallen a little bit further back within the previous lap, so I'm not sure whether he's had a small mistake. But yeah, battle for the...
Ooh, on off. And into the wall goes Swainpole.
Yeah, I must have just misjudged his braking there. We'll just take a look at that on replay. So he gets a decent run out of turn 6, but must have just run up too deep, and oh no, he turns it in, but yeah, just loses the back end, and sadly he has to take to the barrier there. Hopefully he'll be able to recover from that, and is currently last in GT3, sadly, but yeah, I'm sure that he'll be able to recover from that. Just looking a little bit further up the field in GT3, the closest battle at the moment for this class is between Georgia Lewis and Matt Maxted for the final podium position. Looking further back.
So I was just going to say about 1.5 seconds between those two as we see Kid and Stubber going side by side. Was that a move? No, it wasn't. Kid just hanging onto that position currently, but yeah, Stubber certainly the one with the momentum for Sync Gaming. As he tries to take a slightly wider line, so many different lines he can take around this part of the circuit. Such long corners, banked corners as well. It's a bit like a European circuit, this, with the elevation change. Although it might be artificial, I don't know personally if it was artificial, this kind of elevation change, but it does certainly work extremely well. And I'll say pretty close to Hinge still, just ahead. Doricho struggling to keep up as it stands. Just falling about a second behind these three. And then you can see Tonti just moving up the road about 2.5 seconds ahead of this pack. Yeah, currently in the kind of low 45s, currently these drivers are leaders in the GTEs, setting 43s. Now it really does show the difference, and of course Blakeneck in the 1-minute 40s currently. So quite a difference between the absolute front runners and these guys, but they're certainly still providing a lot of entertaining racing as it stands. Hinge falling, so within about 0.3 of a second now of Kid down this back straight. But you can see just Kid not having an opportunity going into this chicane. Of course, we do have the pit stops yet to come. Wait, there are pit stops in this series, aren't there?
Yeah, the fuel is restricted to, I think, 67% of the tank. So we'll be expecting them anywhere from about 15 minutes into the race all the way up until about 30 minutes. So I'd predict probably lap, I think lap 9 or 10. As early as that, and then through till probably lap 18 to 20. So there's quite a large window for the drivers to actually attempt an undercut if that is what they deem to be feasible for them, and hopefully try and get in front of the driver ahead.
Yeah, as it stands, of course, saving a little bit of fuel is the likes of Kid and Stuber and Duricho as well. He's now got that onto the back of this pack, so it's certainly a queue forming up behind Glen Hinge. On that last lap did a 45.3. Kid and Stubber and Duricho all in the 44s, as now they're getting really close to one another. Is this going to be where we see the move just running a little bit wide? I think he had to get out of the throttle there ever so slightly, did Kid. But if he can stay to within about 3/10 of a second, as Scott was saying earlier on, he can maybe have an opportunity up the hill into the chicane. How far behind is he? About 0.32 seconds. So they all four of them really close in on one another. We've already seen a couple of moves down into this corner so far today. He's got it down to 1/10 of a second. Can he pop his nose down the inside? He might really stand a chance here. Down the inside he goes, and not turning into the corner. There's Hinge, and he's going to lose 3 positions. And, well, doesn't lose 3 positions in the end, very fortunate, although now having to serve a slowdown, I believe. And, well, that's the difficulty of that bus stop. You just can't go too wide then. Arguably, that was the wise thing to do there from Hinge, just minimising the risk of a contact.
Yeah, absolutely. Great driving there from Glenn there, but certainly not wanting to risk that too wide contact. Would have been very, very difficult for him to at least go side by side, given that I think it was Matthew pretty much sent it on the inside and carried way too much speed to be able to go too wide. But yeah, it was a great move from Matt to get up into the 8th position in class. And yeah, Cameron was able to capitalise on that as well. He's in 9th overall. Oh, sorry, in 10th, sorry, overall. So that will promote him up. Just looking a little bit further up in the GTE field, looking at 4th position, Anton Parabolski, sorry, Anton. The gap between himself and Copetus Laurent has opened up to about 0.9 of a second at the moment. Last time for Anton was 44.4, where Laurent was able to do 44.3. So gap closing a little bit, but Laurent is in the draft as well, so that will aid him in his chase for the 4th position.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got very close between Hinge and Duricho as well. They're just going side by side, I believe, down the back straight, and there they are. So Duricho does get that move done eventually. Really, the move he should have made 1 lap ago when he nearly benefits from the off from Hinge, but he does now make that move, and Hinge has lost about 3 positions in quick succession there. Duricho can go and catch up to the likes of Kid and Stuber, and maybe even Tonti as well, because yeah, he's yeah, probably Tonti will maintain that gap too. As we see side by side in the GT3s, is there going to be contact here? Oh, great driving from the pair then, but Hunter's going to pick up a slowdown from that and is very much offline. That was Hunter and Maxted, and does well there to serve the slowdown straight away. That's how you got to do it, rather than bring it down gradually. As yeah, so he loses out, does Shane, but that was nearly a very good move around the outside, as he's gone off into the wall now, and from hero to 0 there.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate way for, it was Shane to end it there, but yeah, it was just put a little bit off by that the fact that it was going too wide through the bus stop, and sadly got the slowdown. And yeah, I'm not sure what happened in that turn 6 there, but yeah, unfortunately he's had that off. But hopefully be able to recover from that. I see that Jax has moved past Michael Gray as well for the final position in GT3.
Yes, so Jacques will be trying to catch up to the rest of the GT3s as well, though not quite sure how much damage he's got. As we go back to this battle, Perchheim has been pretty close for a while to Jordan. Hasn't been able to properly make a move. Would be fantastic if we didn't have this bus stop, I must say. I think because the bad thing that you often get round the carousel is absolutely superb often, particularly in these GT3 cars because, GT3 and GTE cars because it's so difficult to defend. The outside line often is so grippy that you can really go for me, but that bust up slightly kind of thins out the action. I guess it's for safety reasons in real life, not too much run up going into that corner. But yeah, it would be great to see that. But at the same time, of course, it's really testing these drivers' ability to form an overtake. Really have to set it up for about half a lap prior. So around this half of the lap, just not quite strong enough his perch time. It seems to be the last couple of corners where he can really close in the gap.
Yeah, absolutely. With the Porsche 991 RSR that Perchheim is driving at the moment, he'll have the benefit through the middle part of the lap. But I'm not actually I haven't actually driven the BMW since its release in the 2019 Season 2 build. So I'm actually interested to see whether you've driven it, Sam, and to compare its characteristics.
I don't own it, unfortunately, but I have been commentating on the World GT Championship, and the feedback that we've got so far from the drivers is very much that I think it's kind of a good all-round, very strong off the corners, got very good drivability. And certainly the likes of Ash Sutton and Josh Thompson have made it look like a very competitive car. I think once the drivers really get the most out of the setups, of course, only been available for a few weeks. So I think once they really get the hand of the setups, it's probably the fastest car. Once that does really materialise, I imagine they'll probably BOP it, make it a little bit slower. But right now, I think it's pretty evenly matched to these cars. So yeah, I think it's just a decent all-rounder, to be honest. I don't think there's anything absolutely spectacular about it. But yeah, just good in every department.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll be interested to find out how the VRS GTE World Championship drivers or the teams will be selecting their cars for the season in the upcoming 2019 championship, as Perchheim is pretty much all over the back of Niels Jordan at the moment. Not sure whether there was any contact through turn 10, but yeah, he's certainly all over the back, putting pressure on him. But gap between those two drivers at the moment is only 0.3, so if he can get a good run through turn number 1, he'll certainly have a decent shot at making the move into the box stop there. As we see,
into the pits, in fact.
Yeah, pits is Eurasia at the moment, so he's the first one in for any of the drivers on the lead lap of their respective classes. But Perchheim getting a decent run through turn number 1, but yeah, just runs a little bit wide through the S's, and unfortunately that'll compromise his run. But still quarter of a second back. Can he get close enough into the bus stop? No, I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off, so we just have to fall in behind.
Of course, the slipstream model in these GTs, I'd say it's probably the most realistic out of all the cars that I've come across, at least. I did find the Radical SRA absolutely insane slipstream. They have buffed that a little bit. Certainly from what I found in the back end of the BSR Winter Series a couple of months, about a month ago, they seem to kind of reduce that a little bit, but in these GTEs, really is quite realistic, which is absolutely fantastic, because I know in a lot of cars, such as the IndyCar, for example, is a bit OP, the slipstream, so does really produce very good racing, because it's a lot better seeing proper, half an hour long tussles like this, and just one overtake and done and dusted. That's why we really like circuits like this. And of course, Perchheim will not be enjoying the slipstream currently, because if it was a bit stronger, he would probably have been passed quite a few minutes ago. It means that they're now 5.5 seconds behind Glen Hinge, as into the pits now comes Perchheim. And that's probably a good move. It will be interesting to see if he can stay ahead of Eurasia, although he will come out back into the GT3s, which could be an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the back of Matty Kidd and Cameron Stubbo at the moment. Sadly, Cameron not being able to pull off the move as they go through the bus stop. I know that battle has been pretty much going on all race. The battle for the 8th and 9th position in GTE. And this is the closest battle in the whole field at the moment. So that Anton Parabolski and Coppidas Laurent are still going at it. The gap has opened up to about a second over the course of last time we were looking at those two drivers.
Poor pit stop for Perchheim. He was stationary for 4 more seconds than Pablo Araja, so that's cost him a position there, and also now has got a GT3 between him and his rival, so not particularly good there for him, but good for Araja up 1 position. Theoretically, of course, he's still got a couple more GT3s to get past before he gets some clear air and joins back up to the GTE field. And yeah, we can't wait to see what will happen with these front runs. We ought to have a little bit of camera time for our race leader, Benjamin Erdmann, because he has been absolutely dominating. He's currently 5 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Just, yeah, edging it out by about half a second, 0.6 of a second per lap. Been really dominant so far in this race. We've got Pablo Vicente in 2nd place with Marco Keller in 3rd. And they're all kind of spreading out from one another at the moment. Also got very close between Kidd and Stubber again. Kidd defending on the inside, Stubber trying to get the cutback. He just doesn't really get a good enough run out of this one into the carousel. And you can see how he takes quite an alternative line, that tight line, but he doesn't quite stay close enough here because he can go for a move during the boot section, but you can see he's just maybe a car length too far behind.
Yeah, absolutely. With Kidd being able to take the shortest route up through the S's, he'll get the preferred line to defend in the bus stop, as Stubber's pretty much all over the back of Kidd at the moment. We've got under 0.3 of a second at the moment, just sort of going on board. He'll have to fall in behind. But having said that though, with the pit stop window open at the moment, it'd be interesting to see, as Kidd goes wide at turn 10, he'll lose about 1/10 of a second to Stubber at the moment. See whether Stubber decides to go into the pit lane. No, he doesn't, so he decides to carry on for another lap. Anton Parabolski is in as well, so he will try to cover off Coppidas Laurent from trying the undercut.
Yeah, it could be a smart move there because he wasn't too much under pressure from the rest of the field. So probably worth the risk. He should stay ahead of the GT3s. No, he won't actually. He'll pull behind Gardner and maybe behind Stepanovsky as well. But yeah, should get some clear air and hopefully we'll be able to set some quick laps. There's a bit of damage on that car. In fact, not quite sure where he would have picked up that, maybe on a curb or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether... Yeah, sorry, I'm going to have a look with our...
Oh, it's a very long pit stop, sorry. Really long pit stop. Oh, maybe he's crashed.
Yeah, I'm just seeing with our timing, it doesn't look as though he's crashed, whether he's... Yeah, I can't see it at the moment, so... I'll have a quick look. So that was already before that. Sorry, I'll just quickly see. Slightly before that too. Okay. So if I go here.
We're getting closer.
Yeah, getting closer and closer. Here we go. Oh, so he's just lost the back end through the carousel and tags the front end of the car. So whether that was tyre temperature related, whether he'd lost the grip and fired it into the wall, That'd be pretty bad mistake from Anton. Down 17 positions. Certainly not what he was looking for, but I don't think he's in the race and he's actually retired, so bit of a shame there for Anton.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been quite a bit of damage on that car. And yeah, promotes everyone else then in the GT3s. So Laurent now up into 4th position overall. Campbell's now 4 positions in this race. Up into 5th position, 6th overall. And yeah, helps out everyone behind. Stubber still very close to Kid currently. Also, let's have a check-in on Blake Neck. Might be coming into the pits at some point as he just makes his way through the traffic. He's been very faultless so far. Certainly haven't seen anything untowards. But his driving is 53 seconds clear of the rest of the field. And I don't know how he did actually in the Sebring 12 hours recently. I imagine he raced in the DP in that. Not quite sure how he did. But of course we'll be preparing for the 6 hours of the Glen. What a fantastic event that will be. Personally my favourite special event of the season. It's a proper sprint race, but over 6 hours. And fantastic class feel. And not too long a circuit. And a difficult track to deal with the multi-class. Be great fun that.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly expect that Blake will be in the top split for the 6 hours of the Glen. It's obviously great practice. I think that the Glen is actually within this 12-week season, so certainly getting the practice in early. And sadly, he's the only the DP in this field, but certainly showing that he's got a very, very strong pace throughout the race.
Oh, Kid and Stubb are very close again, so I thought I saw the gap go down to half a tenth of a second. Apologies, as it goes down to about half a tenth of a second once again. But I just can't make it still. Issue for Keller. Keller is falling down the order. And he's going to be just ahead of these guys. There he is, into the wall. And he's got involved with a GT3 as well. I think that's George Lewis, who he's had a collision with. Or Shane Hunter, not quite sure.
See if we can go back on replay. Here we go. Yeah, it looks as if... Oh, it's just... Yeah, we caught the tail end of that. He must have just had some unfortunate contact with another GTE. It looks like one of the blue BMWs in front. So whether that was... so that's Keller. I'm not sure whether that was Paul Campbell. Trying to see... Yeah, there we go. That's Paul Campbell. The sailor was involved in that. So... certainly unfortunate for both of those drivers to see that Matthew Kidd is in the pits as well, seeing whether he can undercut the overtake from Cameron Stubber that was made into the bus stop that we unfortunately missed as well, because they were battling through the carousel as well.
So now means Tonti is now up into 4th position. Yeah, Lamont up into 3rd. And yeah, we've seen quite a few casualties then in this DT field, mainly due to kind of just driver mistakes rather than kind of wheel-to-wheel contact. But yeah, it really has benefited these other drivers. Blake Neck also just had a bit of a pull up. Don't know what that was about. A very bad sector 5, which is at the end of the lap. That's about 10 seconds, but hasn't cost him too much, I believe.
Must have been just traffic. Trying to negotiate that.
Oh, I think has he just come into the pits? In fact, that would make sense. Yes, he did come into the pits, so that would that explain the reason for that. So he's still 32 seconds out in the lead despite that pit stop.
Yeah, just having a look at Cameron Stubber at the moment. He's decided to go around for another lap. So, looking at the gaps at the moment, it's about 28 seconds to Matthew Kidd. So, given the time delta, it's going to be pretty close. I think between those two, that's going to be pretty fierce, I'd say, when Cameron decides to make the pit lane. But yeah, just looking at Niels Jordan at the moment, battle for 7th and 8th overall, and 6th and 7th in class. Gap at the moment is about 0.6 of a second as they're coming up through the SS now. Both drivers in the BMW, so it should be fairly evenly matched. But we'll see whether Jordan can get past within the next lap or so. It looks as though he's been fairly quick at the moment, but he's actually lost half a second over the previous lap, so Doricio might have actually made the move fairly recently as well.
Yeah, 8 positions now is Doricio. That's in class. So after that really disappointing qualifying, not sure if he actually put in a qualifying lap, in fact. Or if it was certainly one far below his ability. So absolutely storming up the field. He has got 14 seconds there to catch up to Cameron Stubber, though. And of course, once well, will he be ahead of Kidd still? Yeah, I guess not. I guess Kidd will be able to move ahead of him, but that's the only position he'll lose once he comes into the pits for Doricio.
Yeah, this battle here on screen at the moment, Matt Kidd and Paul Barber. Matty Kidd might be getting held up a little bit through Paul Barber not having pitted at the moment. But yeah, I would expect to see the drivers in within this lap or the next as Barber decides to pit. And also Doricio's in the pit lane as well, so we'll keep our eye out on Cameron within this lap to see whether he takes out the pit lane, as we're 32 minutes in to the race already. It's been a mega long stint, I would say, for the GTEs, but also we'll take a look at our GTE leader as he's coming through turn 10 at the moment.
Yeah, you can pretty much pit whenever he likes. Well, as long as he doesn't, run out of fuel. He's got a gap. Still can't afford to run out of fuel, but here he comes into the pits for the BMW. I don't know actually how big the BMW tank is, or what his fuel consumption is. Like, it ought to have horrendous fuel consumption. It's absolutely massive. So I would have thought the drag ought to be absolutely horrendous, but, well, not sure if they've necessarily modelled that. Have iRacing. As also Vicente comes into the pits, Laurent as well. Well, Tonti and Stubber come into the pits. Tonti is in, and so too is Stubber. So you're absolutely right there, Scott. Everyone coming in when you called upon them. And yeah, so this will give us a good reflection then of kind of where everyone is once these pit stops are gone. Although, going against our point, Niles Jordan seemingly carrying on. No, he's not. He's coming to the pits. Apologies. So that leads everyone into the pits now.
Yeah, I've got the track map up at the moment. See where Matty Kidd is at the moment. He's just taken to the final corner. See whether Stubber is leaving the box at the moment. Looks as though that Matt will jump him. So poor end lap for Cameron, and that's enabled Matty Kidd to jump him back through the pit stop phase.
Very close between Doricio and Hinge as well, because well, they weren't coming into the pits. They have already made their pit stops, I believe, but here they go side by side up the hill. This doesn't usually end very well, but these two are very competent drivers as they stick it round the outside. The downforce of these GTE cars allowing them to stay flat out up through that section. They are neck and neck as they go into the chicane. In the end, backing out of it was Hinge, and that's a nice move there from Doricio. That's an important move as well. Or is there going to be contact? There is. But He's trying to wait for his rival. He appreciates that he's made a mistake there, but unfortunately for Durice, just right into the wall. He can't afford to reverse out, otherwise he's going to make contact with someone else. He did make contact with Jordan, and oh, that's horrendous for Durice, because he was running in a really good position. I already talks about how he's gained something like 7 positions in this race, but he's lost all but 3 of them straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at Jordan's car at the moment, the slight tap that he had through the carousel. It's got front left damage as well, so not sure where that's from, but yeah, it's still sitting 19th in class and 10th overall, so he's made a mistake, and that's going to allow Arasia through. So sadly he's lost 1 position, but yeah, given the damage, I think that Niels wouldn't have wanted to. Sorry, that was Niels making the move. Sorry, apologies for that. And yeah, Arasia probably noticing that it was going to be a little bit too slow, so probably not worth fighting for that position.
Yeah, I think very wise from him. He's got a 3.5 seconds gap back to Perchheim, so he could actually catch by the end of this race, because Eurasia's last lap was actually a 48. It's about 3 seconds slower than what he was doing earlier on. As we see Tonti versus Kid. This one, so Kid then, of course, jumps Stubber, and it shows how much pace Kid has been holding up for this entire race, where he's now right onto the back of Tonti almost immediately. This is going to be the last position these guys are fighting for, because they got 9 seconds to catch up to P3. Bit of an unnecessary line once again there from Kid, and it's cost him on the exit, trying to put off his rival, but wasn't really ever going to put his nose down the inside, and he's lost himself crucially a couple of tenths of a second. So we're 8 minutes to get this move done though. A few more laps. We'll keep an eye out on Blake Neck, because he'll be basically the decider for how many laps we get. Of course, yeah, he will, once he crosses the line, once he crosses the line as the clock ticks down, then that will be the last lap. So I'll keep an eye out on that one, as Tonti, half-second clear. As we've already talked about, you need to be within about 0.3 of a second at this point. So we're not going to have a chance this time out.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just going to go on board with Matty at the moment, just to see what his top end speed is compared to Tonti. He's got about a 4 or 5 km/h advantage heading into the bus stop, but sadly he can't really do much really with it, as yeah, he'll have to brake a little bit earlier just due to the draft and the lack of the downforce that he'll be lacking through that corner. As he's pretty much all over the back of him now. He's closed up within 0.2 of a second. See whether he can challenge around the outside of turn 8, but yeah, sadly he can't do it. It's that little bit of a mistake through 6. So that was turn 7. This is 8. He'll have to just take the normal line. He won't be able to lunge through 8.
Yeah, he's a lot closer than he was at this point on the last lap, at least. And Stubber as well, trying to get involved, but he's probably just going to have to wait for these guys to make contact or something. We've also got a little bit of back marker as well up the road. That is Michael Gray, currently in 5th position out of the GT3s. But have all the GT3s pitted already? I think we kind of missed that a bit.
Yeah, all of
nothing really changed in that.
Yeah, all cars in the GT3 field have pitted as well, so pretty much it's just the run to the end now for the drivers.
So this time, Kid, he's closer. It's only 0.4 of a second though as it stands, so it's just a case of yeah, getting close through the boot section, I think. Certainly not have a chance into the chicane, but you can see good gaining speed there. Gained by about quarters of a second down that straight. So if he can get that bit closer, as he's now really close, going into the carousel, taking the line, trying to go a little bit wider. I wonder if that's to try to prevent getting stuck in the turbulent air. That time didn't really work because it allowed his rival behind to get involved, as running wide there is Tonti. And all of a sudden he's under big pressure from Kid. Will Kid be able to go down the inside into this corner? No, he covered it off nicely, and also getting a really wide line. This is going to be a fantastic run all of a sudden for Cameron Stubber, who lost out to Kid during the pit stops, trying to get past the GT3 as well. He does very well to get out of the way, but he cannot make it, can Stubber. That was half a chance for him. Really clever driving there from the Porsche driver, but that line didn't quite get him enough momentum.
Yeah, it was great from was it Michael Gray to get out of the way of this battle. It's great to see that he was aware of what was around him. And it's Matty Kidd. Oh, he's out. He's lost the back end through the second to last corner, and yeah, that's pretty much ended his race. But he's only lost one position by the looks of it. He'll be kicking himself, I reckon, through that mistake. But yeah, he sits sixth in class from that mistake.
Yeah, he should still stay in sixth position because he had such a gap back to Glenn Hinge and Niles Jordan. So that should be fine. So at least just these two, Tonti and Stubber. Really doubt that Stubber's going to be able to make a move here with only 3.5 minutes to go. So Blake Neck, yeah, not quite sure how many more laps we've got to go. So he'll cross the line with about 42 and a bit minutes into this race. So that will leave us with so probably 3 more laps to go after this.
I'd say 42. Oh, it's getting pretty close, I reckon. He's doing high 1 minute 39, so I'd say 2 at the minimum, but no more than 3. Absolutely. So just see when he crosses the line. That'll give us a bit of a rough idea. It's well into 42 minutes, so yeah, I'd say we got about 2 laps to go from the DP driver. So having a look at Griffin Gardner, leader of the GT3s at the moment. He's got a 32-second lead over the second place in GT3s. So great effort from him. Provided that he doesn't make a mistake, he'll be able to close out the GT3s. And the closest battle at the moment on the track is Niels Jordan and Pablo Araga. It's just
We'll get the hang of these names by the end of the season.
Yeah, yeah. Apologies to the drivers, but yeah, gap at the moment only 4/10 of a second at the moment. Be interesting to see because Pablo actually had a 7-second stop. So whether that was that car's underfueled or whether he's like filled it right up and then been able to take that 4 seconds of less of fuel, but 4 seconds in the stop is quite a lot of fuel. So interesting to see whether he was actually able to make the end. Given that we've got 2 laps to go, roughly.
Yeah, it could be the different cars as well. Maybe the BMW is a little bit high on consumption, but you're absolutely right with Araja seemingly the shortest pit stop of all the drivers out there. But in those early stages, he was stuck with the slipstream, and in these close stages, he's also got the slipstream. So maybe that's just going to get him to the end of the race. The race leader just crossing the line now, so this is going to actually be... So these guys got 1.5 more laps to go. You're absolutely right there, Scott. I was completely wrong with that 3 laps. It is just going to be 1 more lap to go for the race leader. And yeah, 1 and a bit laps for these drivers to get their battle sorted out. Stubber closing in a bit on Tonti now, but it's still 0.6 of a second. Hinged about half a second ahead of... sorry, Jordan half a second ahead of Araja. And then we've got yeah, Barber and Gardner battling, but that's between the GTE and GT3s. So it doesn't really matter too much. And yeah, the race leader, of course, ahead of these guys. So that will be their last lap for Tonti and Stubber. But Blake Neck just, yeah, hasn't put a foot wrong. It's a lot easier said than done. So we see a driver putting a much of foot wrong. I think that was Michael Gray there. Yeah, he's just been faultless in this one as Blake Neck, and credit to him for not really playing too much of a part in all the other battles we've had out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Drivers of his caliber, certainly one to be dominating this field, and he's about to round the second to last corner now. We've got a little bit of traffic, but I don't think he'll play a bit of a factor in the ultimate final lap of the race. And yeah, Blake Neck will take the overall win for round number 2 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Watkins Glen, and congratulations to him. Benjamin Erdmann.
Still got another lap, a victory lap. He's already won. No, he hasn't. Pablo Vicente, is he? I think he's finished. He's certainly driving as though he's finished. So yeah. Erdmann has won the race, but he's well, he still gets to do one more lap to finish. Griffin Gardner, he's still got half a lap to go as well, so he can soak in this New York sun of glory. And yeah, he's just been absolutely dominating for TTL Esports. About 40 seconds clear of the rest of the field. In fact, only 2 drivers, him and Stepanovsky, are on the lead lap as we go to yeah, Jordan holding off Eurasia. And yeah, Gardner will be approaching the line now, just going through the final corner. And he will win in the GT3. So well done to Griffin. That was absolutely faultless as well. And not a scratch on that Mercedes AMG GT3 car.
Yeah, absolutely. We just having a look at Benjamin Erdmann. He will be the second to last car, I think. Yeah, second to last car to cross the line, but he will win in the GTEs. And yeah, certainly hasn't put a foot wrong. Was 10 seconds clear of Pablo Vicente at the end there, but luckily he was still in the lead lap to the DP of Blake Neck, so he was able to complete the same number of laps of the race, 27 laps overall, compared to the rest of the field, managing 26 and below.
So, I think we can go through the final results, and it is, of course, Blake Neck, yeah, finishing on top, and yeah, dominating from the DP driver. Benjamin Erdmann was in second position in the GTEs, with Pablo Vicente in third. Competitors Laurent was in fourth, with Mateus Tonti in fifth, Cameron Stubber in sixth. Matthew Kidd, I should say in class. So the Kid will be in sixth in class, Inge in seventh, Niles Jordan in eighth. Then it's Pablo Araja, Michael Perchheim, Oran Dericchio, and Paul Barber. And then in the GT3s, we've got Griffin Gardner winning up by about 40 seconds over Older Stepanovsky. Then it's George Lewis, Shane Hunter, Michael Gray, Jacques Swainpole, and then the retirees in all the classes were Campbell, Keller, Perabrovsky, Maxed, and Gressant as well, unfortunately retiring from the race. And, well, of course, if anyone wants an interview with us, you are more than welcome. I don't know, did we get any interviews with drivers last week, Scott?
Sadly, we didn't get any driver interviews. That was partly partly due to my indiscretion. But yeah, I have put the the Discord link in the chat. I haven't got a permanent Discord link available to me at the moment, so I will have to get that sorted for next week, as I'm sure that any of the drivers that would want to have a driver interview, you're more than welcome to come in and have a driver interview. That's no problem on our end. So, but yeah, it's yeah, something that I will have to get sorted for next week.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to hear from the drivers. Quite interesting insight, and also helps us to kind of appreciate more of this series because we will be broadcasting, I believe, all the weeks. Only week 2 this, so still got 10 more rounds of this championship to do. And next up, in fact, like frantically look at the IMSA Sportscar Championship schedule. For week 3, we will have Homestead Miami. I will need to potentially buy that. So well, actually, unfortunately, I won't be able to do next week, so I won't need to buy that circuit. But that should be good fun. A circuit not really used too much, but at least from all the videos that I've seen, never driven it myself, but it looks like quite a cool circuit. I'd say, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, a track that's not very utilized. Yeah, track that's not utilized very much in the iRacing service, but yeah, sadly I can't actually get the track map up because of Flash needing updates and stuff. But yeah, it's certainly an underrated track for sure, given that the various different raid layouts that are available to the drivers. But typically, Homestead Miami is a NASCAR A-Class and Peak Antifreeze Series car, so that's where you typically find that being used on the schedule. But yeah, certainly next week that will be one for providing some awesome racing, and I can't wait for next week.
Absolutely, should be great fun once again in the IMSA Sportscar. So, of course, if you want to watch anything else on Apex Racing TV, of course, do leave the video a like and also subscribe to the channel to check out our Facebook page as well. And also check out Twitch as well. We also stream on that. And I realise that this broadcast, I don't believe, was on Twitch, but the majority of our broadcasts are on Twitch. So certainly do follow that if you can. Because tomorrow, in fact, actually tonight, I'm getting all these time zones very well. I appreciate many of the people watching this will be Aussies, and this will be in the depths of the evening for you. But I guess tomorrow morning for you guys, there will be the BSR MX-5s, and yeah, then tomorrow we'll also have the World F3 Championship, the iRacing Le Mans Series as well, and of course the Sim Racers World Series as well on Thursday, and also the UV8s. It's always a great championship as well. That will be on Sunday morning for the Aussies, and then Saturday evening for all the Europeans and Americans. So, for now, from me and from Scott as well, we'll say goodbye, and we will see you next time.